Hi, I'm Seth Abramovitch. I'm a senior writer at The Hollywood Reporter.
And I'm Chip Pope, not a senior writer still. We're a writer.
Still working on it.
Still working on that.
Oh, man, can you believe those Oscars? I can't believe
Green Book
won. And also
Olivia Colman
for Best Actress. But I'm all movied out. How do you feel?
Oh, the same, man. It's another year where Amanda Bynes didn't win anything, so, I'm over it.
Hollywood.
Right? Hollywooddn't.
And Hollywood produces lots of other things. So this week, we're dedicating an entire episode to one of the most formative TV shows of my youth, and I know many other people. It left quite a big impression.
It's iconic.
Girl power, female cops,
Hair.
private eyes. It had everything.
Well, it definitely had all those things.
So that's what's up on this week of
It Happened in Hollywood.
So TV, should we admit how old we are?
I don't care. I'm 49 years old. I'm not one of those gals that's afraid to say it.
And I'm less than that. But when we
Well played.
When we were kids, there was a TV show that I think it loomed large. We're gonna go in the Wayback Machine to the 1970s. Cocaine, disco, bikinis,
Bikini cocaine.
ski diving.
Ski diving.
I don't know. I was a kid. Anyway, the show was Charlie's Angels. It had danger, it had glamour. It was everything I thought a TV show could be.
It had a theme song.
And it had an explosion behind the logo. Anyway, it was really cool, and when we were thinking of what show could we dedicate an episode to, that was one of the first ones that popped in my head. But, of course, we had to get an angel. And who's
Right.
the ultimate angel?
Well, there was one angel that was in every single episode of Charlie's Angels.
Yes, Jaclyn Smith.
And that's the one we got.
I just thought she was the most
Spoiler alert.
beautiful woman in the world when I was a kid. And I still do. When you look at those episodes, and she still looks amazing. She said yes. Amazing to me.
She's a piece of Americana.
She is.
All-American gal. She was a hair model at one point.
She was studying with Balanchine to be a ballet star in New York, but that's a hard life. And then she started doing TV commercials because she's so gorgeous. She epitomized that 70s all-American, easygoing glamour. Then I think Paramount kind of signed her to a deal where she was getting all kinds of lessons, singing, tap dancing, acting.
Kind of the end of that system.
Yeah.
Where
it
they
was
would groom people.
So she was just, enjoying life. Very happy woman. And then she got called in for an audition.
My agent called and said, there was an audition for a show called Harry's Angels. It was first Harry's Angels. And it was just an open call. And I said, okay, because I had done other things. I'd done a show with Robert Wagner called Switch and Eddie Albert, different little things,
Were you based out here in L.A.?
I was bi-coastal. I kept an apartment in New York because I loved it, and then I had a place here. So I went in, and it was a room full of people, which I prefer than what they do now is putting you on film. Film, I don't think the way they shoot it always captures the person, and you don't really see who they are sometimes. So I went in. I didn't give a particularly good reading. It was a little, I don't know, for cold readings, it wasn't my thing. I sort of like to have the script ahead of time. So I read for Sabrina because Kelly was to be Kate Jackson.
This show was co-conceived by Aaron Spelling, who was a very prolific producer who was about to have the biggest string of TV hits television had ever really seen.
Right. So, yeah, before this, he'd done Mod Squad and The Rookies and things like that. But this was the start of ones that were to come, like Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, Dynasty.
He had a sixth sense for a certain kind of brain candy that just really clicked with audiences in the 70s. And, of course, this is a period when there's only 3 networks. So if you can find a hit and then multiple hits, you're basically the most powerful man in Hollywood.
Right.
but he hadn't quite proven himself yet, and this was going to be the show.
So it's almost like at this point he just had a 20-room mansion, and then this stuff would get him a 100-room mansion.
Didn't have the wrapping paper room for his wife. So they had this idea where there was going to be 3 female private eyes. Each one had a different hair color: red, blonde, and brown.
One of each.
One of each.
One of the 3 colors.
And Jaclyn's audition was for the redheaded character.
But she doesn't have red hair.
But everyone at the audition did.
So there were these 2 Australian writers in their mid-60s, Goff and Roberts, that created the show, but it was called Alley Cats. Remember that? It was Alley Cats.
That's right.
And they were actually going to dress as cats? Wait.
No, but they were going to have whips and chains.
Oh, okay.
That's
I was
true.
thinking of it as like it was like furries or something. It was just they had whips and chains, huh?
So Aaron Spelling, wanted Kate Jackson to be the star of his show. She was a sensible woman who said, no, we're not calling this Alley Cats.
She went in and took a meeting with Aaron, and there was a picture of 3 angels, and she said, you can't call it Alley Cats. And she said, it's got to be angels. So she really was part of the creation, so to speak, and the development of sending it to another level. Harry O was on the air at that time, so they didn't want it to be called Harry. Kate did want to stick with Harry's Angels. We all did, because we had done all our rehearsal with Harry, and we got used to it, and Charlie sounded bizarre.
Every show in the 70s was a detective show. You know that? You know the way like you go, oh, more hospital crap or whatever you see now on these networks? It seemed like it was all just detectives. And they would have the episode titles just like they do with Charlie's Angels.
In quotes.
Right. And it's tonight's episode, a date with murder. It was always that. Or like a plane flying through the air, coffee, tea, or murder. Like that Christmas, like Jingle Bell Murders. It always had murder in it. That's my main memory of these
Those were the days.
Shows.
So Aaron decided to leave all his other TV projects because he was entranced with the whole concept of what was now called Charlie's Angels.
Really, Charlie's was Aaron. He liked bright, happy, popping. I mean, yes, he had a departure from that, but in general, he loved that Charlie's Angels, he said it was mind candy. It wasn't meant to be Shakespeare. Just get involved, watch these girls, have fun. The lighting was not highlights and shadows and moody. It was like, get into their faces, get into their eyes, really look at these girls. So Aaron loved Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, there's a lot of close-ups of people turning their heads.
A lot of hair.
Smiling. Yeah.
Smiling. And I must say it was all our hair. There was no...
Oh, wow. No wigs.
Yeah, today it's all, wigs and pieces and different things, but that was truly us.
Hair was a big priority in the 70s.
They were just looking to cast 3 heads of hair.
Basically, because they wanted a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead.
Yeah.
Jaclyn Smith was not a redhead, but they were so set on it that they were like, no, we're going to cast a redhead. And they only hired her after they saw the chemistry between Kate Jackson and Farrah Fawcett and Jaclyn. So
the entire concept went out the window. Now it's 2 brunettes and a blonde.
Yeah, what?
Will America respond? Yes, America responded.
Right? Why didn't we get Charo in there? She had red hair, right?
But you kind of breezed by the 3rd cast member, but Farrah Fawcett was the deal.
She was like the Chevy Chase of Charlie's Angels.
But Farrah Fawcett was a major sex symbol, and the power of Charlie's Angels and the reach of it really launched her star. And, of course, when you think of Farrah Fawcett, you think of...
that poster.
And
the hair.
The hair on the poster.
Sorry.
In fact,
do that again.
I remember when I was a kid, one of my older sisters, had a head. It was like a disembodied plastic Farrah Fawcett head where you can style her hair.
It's Farrah's Glamour Center, a styling head and 32-piece makeup kit. You can try the makeup on yourself or on Farrah to make her look just the way you like.
It's kind of weird and almost grotesque if you think about it.
So it's just a head with...
It's a head with hair. Anyway, I had a lot of questions about Farrah Fawcett's hair, and Jaclyn humored me.
Well, she had that hair. And it needed its own phone line, and it was the fourth angel because people loved her hair.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. And she didn't really have to do a lot to have that hair. That was her natural. You know, she'd come in with wet hair, put a few rollers in it, sit under the hairdryer for 5 minutes, 10, take it down, and boom, that was it. That was it.
I love how I'm her description of Farrah's hair. She didn't run for the hills.
Her hair. Oh, yeah.
Let's explain the basic concept behind this show.
So it was 3 ladies that went to the police academy. Hi, I'm Charlie.
Yeah, so the concept is pretty basic. They're all police academy grads, very kind of kick-ass kind of girls. But because they're women, they get assigned to desk duty and crossing guard duty, which is all explained in a very efficiently told introductory sequence at the start of every title sequence. And Charlie takes them away from all that.
Right. They go into the private sector because there's more money in the private business.
Private eyeing.
So the opening sequence of Charlie's Angels is iconic, but at this point in the interview, no one could remember exactly what happened in it, and it just turned into that Chris Farley sketch from Saturday Night Live where he's just trying to remember what happened on some form of entertainment. You know what I'm talking about.
When did they come up with this backstory that was in the opening credits every time where you're
Once upon a time?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, that was just written.
Were you the crossing guard, or which one were you?
Farrah was the crossing guard. I was into karate, but Kate was, what was she?
A school teacher, wasn't it?
No. No. Oh, gosh. Oh, somebody was typing. That was Farrah.
Oh.
Kate was the crossing guard, and I was into the karate.
You were like
Yeah, I was karate.
They were all in the police academy.
Farrah was typing.
Yeah, you were all the police academy.
Farrah was typing, and Kate was the traffic.
I mean,
What is going on there?
someone was a crossing guard. Someone was in the police academy.
Yeah,
Someone was
you could
karate.
just watch it on YouTube.
Just Google it. It doesn't really matter. They were all very capable women, and
It's very progressive.
yeah, you know, it got some heat at the time for maybe, I think the term was called jiggle TV. They were always in bikinis or kind of skimpy outfits. Although Kate Jackson, as she got more agency, said she wouldn't wear any bathing suits. So she's started wearing pantsuits and really inspiring young Hillary Clinton, I think.
Right. But I think that's something important to remember is that these shows were on the air like Hawaii Five-0, and they always have a beach and bikinis and everything. I think because 3/4 of the country at any point in time is cold, or it's like snowy or something, or there's ice sheets. And so people turn on the TV, they'd be like, oh, people in a bikini. You know, they
want the fantasy of Southern California.
Yes.
Which is where this show takes place in LA. The show definitely took advantage of everything LA had to offer in the late 70s, from discotheques to roller derbies to...
They're always at the beach. They
beach.
find some way to put detectives in a bikini every episode.
But they were kicking ass, and they were doing it together. And, you know, we're obsessed with this Bechdel test. Well, they were always just having conversations with themselves about, well, if they were talking about a man, it's because he was a criminal, and they were going to kick his ass.
You see that element in it. Like, they were Barbie dolls prancing around in pretty clothes. We really weren't. We were emotionally and financially independent. We were making our way. We were strong. We had each other's backs, and I never thought of it as we were exploited in any way. I didn't.
And then, of course, you went on to become feminist icons, like Camille Paglia, one of the biggest feminist cultural commentators. She holds you up as examples of powerful feminism.
It was women working together, basically.
Women standing for each other, working together, making their way. Probably Kate was the strongest in that area, because I basically, what that is to me is I carry out what I want to do. And so I don't think of it. I mean, you know, when something becomes so strong, sometimes the message is missed. I didn't even think we were exploited. I didn't think we were Barbie dolls. I thought we were working very hard. So I don't know why we got slammed so much. We did at the beginning. They gave us no value at all to the scripts, to us. For us to carry out some of the dialogue, you'd have to say, hey, they gave some reality to it.
Right.
And you dared to look beautiful while you're doing it. Which...
Yeah. And we were young, one might say, We were physically fit. We did a lot of our stunts. And I just think, you should applaud that it's 3 women instead of 3 men, instead of with just being a nurse, a wife. We were out there doing crazy things.
So that first season, which aired 76, 77, Charlie's Angels was a blockbuster TV smash.
It's huge. So many people watch the show. It's like 26 million households a week are watching this. That's probably what, 1 billion people? I'm not great at math.
Basically, look to the person to your left and look to the person to your right. And now the 3 of you are the new Charlie's Angels. No, one of you were watching the show.
Right. Somebody, yeah. Every week, somebody was watching that show. And plus, little kids could watch it too, obviously.
Yeah, it was weirdly like titillating and yet very wholesome.
Right.
So, of course, as a result of this success, the 3 stars become megastars instantaneously. And that does something to your head.
It's like you're a rock star. It's like you don't go anywhere without being bombarded. You don't stand in line at a movie. You can get a reservation anywhere. You'll get free tennis shoes. And will you wear this dress? And do you want to pose for Hustler for $1 million? Yeah. Yeah. And we said no. And, Rolls Royce, everything came at us.
A gift of a Rolls Royce?
Yeah, but you had to drive it, and you had to do some ads, and you had to be photographed.
Did you take it?
I didn't. I don't think any of us really wanted that, I mean, I think it's like, what did we do to earn this? And I mean, it might sound a little self-righteous, but no, there was always a connection to it, like it didn't just, here's a Rolls Royce, go have fun in it. You did have to fulfill certain strings. Yeah. I mean, and for Hustler, we would have had to pose nude. Come on.
Well,
I mean, yeah, I didn't want to be fully clothed on Hustler.
Yeah, it's not exactly.
No, it wasn't
Playboy.
my thing. But it did change our lives drastically. I mean, little did we know that overnight, when you're in a living room once a week, you're out of your body, kind of. You're like a property to people who watch and think they know you. And I had to have a nut file because people would come to the house and want to break in, and they were married to, and I'm sure all the Angels had it. So we had a little nut file, we called it, and, restraining orders were put against some of these people.
So, yeah, a huge life-changing turn of events for these 3 women. The cast went through a lot of changes over the years, and Jaclyn was the only one who stayed all 5 seasons because she felt she owed it to her contract and to Aaron, who she'd grown very fond of and loyal to.
Right.
But Farrah took a very different path, and she decided at the end of season 1 that she wanted to leave to pursue other things.
Right, which I didn't remember that happened until, you just think of that at least she would have been on for a couple of years or something, but no, just 1 year.
Yeah, and I think everyone assumed it was to become a bigger star. She had her poster out that everyone had on their wall, and, she was really a breakout. But we asked Jaclyn about why she thought Farrah left, and she attributed it to her husband at the time, the $6 million man.
Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
I think she had a lot of people in her ear. I think, she's married to Lee Majors. He wanted her home cooking and being a wife.
You think he was jealous of that success that she had on the show?
I don't know if he was jealous. I think he just married her to be a homemaker. And I think, he was this macho guy, but that didn't really work. So it ended pretty quickly. I think her manager wanted her. And to be very honest, Farrah did not like the long hours and the hard, schedule of the show. And I think she thought, I need to go on and I need to do movies and I want to do different things. And there was her manager telling her that all the time. This is what you should do. Can be home and then you can do a movie and you can take a big break and you don't have to work to this degree. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
Where did that poster become a phenomenon? Was it pre-Charlie's Angels?
I think more once Charlie's Angels hit, then they released the poster and it was hugely successful.
And does that put a strain on the set? Just suddenly her becoming like this?
It really didn't. I mean, we were friends. And if you're friends, we were all so different. I mean, today we are different. I just remember when they interviewed us, the first person for People magazine, they summed us up perfectly. Analytical Kate, flashy Farrah, and I was a soft cushion between them. So we were so different as to where our lives were going to go and what we wanted. And I just remember that saying to her, I'm happy before, I'm happy now, and I'll be happy after. So, I mean, hey, that's not to say life is a fairy tale and you have no hardships. But that show wasn't going to define me. Yes, it defined me as an actress, but as a person, no. You want the best for your friend. When Farrah wanted to go, I said, why keep her here if she's going to be miserable?
So she leaves to sort of raise her family and become a movie star, and it never really quite pans out for her.
She does a movie called Sunburn with Charles Grodin.
Yeah, I think that was supposed to really launch her as a pinup, movie star, and that didn't connect with audiences.
Sunburn, a hot comedy thriller.
These people are killers!
About a private dick, a classy chick,
Oh, you are sneaky.
and an old guy named Al.
First, I figure we gotta talk money.
And she had a role in Cannonball Run in '81, but for the most part, the movies weren't happening.
But then when she went back to TV,
That's
everything
right.
clicked.
In the mid-'80s, she did The Burning Bed, which was based on a true story of an abused wife who kills her abusive husband by setting him on fire while he's asleep.
Yeah, you go, girl.
Nice light fare. And then a couple years later, she does Extremities, which was based on a play, I believe, and it's a two-hander where this guy breaks into her house and tries to rape her, and she turns the tables on him and ties him up, and it's a great kind of revenge. Again, great woman power story. So
Right, and she did the stage version too.
wow, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
She was an icon, but I don't think the material ever lived up to the legend. I think
Right.
it's fair to say. And she had a very tragic end. I think in 2006, she was in her early 60s and she got anal cancer, which is a horrible. No cancer is good, but that's a particularly bad one. And she died tragically. And Jaclyn told us about the fact that she's still, processing that, and that it was a very difficult loss.
Again, we all go in our directions, but as she got sick, it brought us closer together. Because my husband's a doctor, and he, was very helpful in looking at her case and her studies and what choices she was making. And also, I guess at that time, it reunited us in an even closer way. I had breast cancer, knock on wood, 18 years ago. I really was very fortunate. And so we just sort of went back together in a stronger way. But when she was in the hospital, my mother was sick. Farrah loved her mother. I loved mine. They called me and said, you need to get here because she's not going to make it too much longer. And I said, I can't leave my mom. I can't. And I knew Farrah would understand. And Farrah, was really sort of in a very subconscious state, but people were going in, this close people to her. But when she passed away, I got on a plane to fly back here. I landed, and they called me and said, your mother's on a respirator. So I had to fly right back. So I did not go to her memorial funeral. But you know what? In my head and in my heart, I know Farrah. I was with her when she was talking, and we were laughing still. And I will say that Farrah never lost her humor and never lost her hope and kept trying and was never poor me. She did say, I never thought this would happen to me, but she never gave up.
So that was pretty sad.
Very tragic.
But backtracking a bit to when Farrah left the show at the peak of her star taking off, it started a protracted legal battle, and she did get out of the contract, but they did lose her that first season. And so then they were presented with needing to replace Farrah Fawcett. And they came up with an interesting concept, which was to keep holding on to a bit of the magic. They made the new character her little sister from San Francisco, who was eager but learning the ropes and sort of like definitely a kid sister type character. And they found this beautiful girl named Cheryl Ladd, who looked really good in a bikini. They never missed an opportunity to put her in one. But what's most remarkable about this episode, Chip,
Yes.
is that we broke news while recording this podcast. Because Jaclyn Smith called up Cheryl Ladd on the phone and spoke to her live for a live
Reunion.
Mini
reunion.
We couldn't get Kate Jackson on the phone. More on that later. But let's relive that magical moment.
Hi, darling.
Hi. If we're at Hollywood Reporter, are you going to kill me for this?
No.
We're talking about our show, Charlie's Angels, and the history. And of course, we can't tell the real history, can we?
No, actually, we can't.
Hi, I'm Seth. I'm one of the hosts of this show called It Happened in Hollywood.
And I'm Chip,
Hi,
the
Seth.
other guy.
How intimidating was it to join the cast? And what are your first memories of working with Jaclyn? Why am I yelling?
Oh, well, my first memory of seeing her was just being completely awestruck at how gorgeous she is.
Still
And
is.
just, I mean, jaw-dropping.
Okay,
I
now
just,
cool
I
it.
found myself staring at her.
Cool it.
It
Yes.
wasn't hot for her, but I was definitely quite impressed with her countenance, shall we say.
So it was kind of surreal to see these two iconic 70s TV stars, both from Charlie's Angels, reuniting on the phone in front of us and trading war stories from the set.
Right, mostly about bikinis.
Yeah, because that's what you talk about when you're a Charlie's Angel.
Yeah.
Just another bikini. I remember that the show where we weren't even going to. We were at a store trying on bathing suits, planning a trip to Hawaii that never happened in the episode, but they had to find a way to get us in bathing suits. And we looked at each other like, do you believe this crap?
I forgot that one. You had to be in the bikini. It raised our ratings, and come on.
You didn't look so bad in a bathing suit yourself.
Yeah, but not like you, girl. Yeah, I don't even want
They're
to.
going to say, oh, and these two just blew hot air up each other's butts all day.
Just like you and me, Chip.
Blowing hot air up each other's butts all day.
It's just another day at the podcast factory. Anyway, that was pretty cool, though.
A reunion. Well,
I feel like we're bringing people together.
we brought them together, but there was one person who was missing.
That's true, Kate Jackson.
We tried to get Kate on the phone, too.
They kept referencing her in this sort of obliquely difficult, snickery way.
Right.
Like that she was kind of tough to deal with.
Yeah, and so, of course, you want to get that on the phone.
Interestingly, Kate sort of dropped out of Hollywood. She adopted a son. He's college age now. She just doesn't act anymore. She was one of the biggest stars of the 70s.
Maybe we should call
We'll come
her
with a
now.
microphone.
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we call
Conference
her now?
call.
Put her in. You're like,
If
no.
you call her, you have to leave me on the phone, but don't talk to me.
I'm frightened. I never thought I was a sissy, but ooh.
Oh, no, she can.
Oh.
She can go dark.
Yeah, very dark.
gosh.
And then, yeah.
She did mention that Kate sort of,
She still talks to Jaclyn and everything.
they had traded calls just the week before we taped the interview.
Yeah.
So what struck me was how much all these women are still in each other's lives.
Right, right. Considering it's something from 40 years ago.
Yeah, and they kind of talk about each other like family members, like, oh, that Kate.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of a fear of Kate.
But in the way you fear, your domineering older sister.
Right, right. Of like, oh, what's it going to be like?
But there's something about Charlie's Angels that whether you were a Charlie's Angel or you were a fan, something about it is quite enduring.
Right.
And they made how many of the first series of films? At least
I
two.
know they made a couple.
Yeah. Now they're rebooting it yet once again. This time Elizabeth Banks is directing. Kristen Stewart is going to be running around in a bikini. I find that hard to imagine.
I don't think she'll be in a bikini.
Yeah, I think this might be a more it's grittier.
Yeah, it's a grown-up role. It's like when you gotta, at some point you go from choosing between a werewolf and a vampire to being a detective.
Well, I don't know. I have faith in Elizabeth Banks. She knows how to have a good time on the screen. So hopefully she's putting together a great reboot of Charlie's Angels so that another generation can just be entranced with it the way we were.
Yes. She'll do a good job. I like Elizabeth Banks.
And Jaclyn is watching keenly as well. What are you hoping for this new film? Like, do you even care? Is there something you hope they get right?
Oh, I care. And I think Elizabeth Banks is so talented and a plus. But what I hope is that they keep some of the simplicity of our show, you know, where it's really about the girls and not about, you know, when they tried to recreate the show in Miami, that was like they were crime fighters and you didn't see.
Oh, right. They did a reboot.
It was dark.
Right.
And our show isn't dark.
No,
I mean,
it was
even
fun.
when Drew did it, it was popping and fun and happy and, you know, jumping off roofs and surviving is a little crazy. But I think I just want to see the girls work together, believe their friendship, because I think that is what made our show special.
There you have it, from the angel's mouth, the secret recipe to what made the show work so well.
One of Harry's angels. She told us the real scoop.
Well, thanks to Jaclyn Smith. Thank you to Cheryl Ladd. We hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, and make sure to subscribe and swipe up to It Happened in Hollywood.
Chip, you've been saying swipe up for like 5 episodes now. And what are you referring to?
You just noticed?
Yes.
I don't know. You know, everybody on Instagram is always like, swipe up for something.
Yeah,
and I thought
but
that
we're not
maybe we
on
had a
Instagram.
swipe up on here.
Maybe in the future they'll invent it and we'll be ahead of the game.
If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to send them to ihih@thr.com.
And until next time, we'll
see you in Hollywood.